Chords and Coffee, and today we are going to discuss open G tuning.
Oh yes, the coolest of all the opens.
Well, you know, it is. And
in my opinion.
Well, and it's also, for a lot of us, the first open tuning that we ever really messed with.
Yep,
right? And
absolutely.
There's reasons for that, and we'll get to that in just a second. This is Mike.
Hi, friends.
Mike plays in a lot of different Rolling Stones treatments.
Treatments, yes. Well,
Yeah.
to say Keith is an influence on me is an understatement. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys do there's a tribute show that you do with some guys.
We've done back in the day, yeah. Shattered, you know, because you got to name yourself after a song.
That's the way you gotta do it.
That's
Yeah.
how it goes. Yeah. A lot of fun though, and it was really neat to have to deep dive into the mind of Keith and figure out why his tone is so good.
And because of that, there's a lot of things that inspired him from the blues realm, and that are also sort of adjacent to the Stones, like just kind of that southern rock kind of Americana thing.
It was all there. I mean, any of the bands from, like I said, Stones, Zeppelin, I mean, I think The Dead, all the way up to, I mean, you name them. And then the blues guys, Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, going back that far, Clapton. I mean, it's just there. And I think it's one of the most attainable tunings just because it's approachable. In fact, you just have to tune down 2 strings and you're there. And
Boom.
so you can just bam, sound. You're not going to be snapping strings. It's just down, up. You sound cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, in this Chords and Coffee episode, what we're going to do is, number one, we're going to show you all the chords that are in the key of G and an easy way to make those. Number two, there's a thing that Keith would do a lot in the Stones for a lot of songs. I mean, a ton of hits, and it kind of, it's almost like a Keith Richards cliche at this point. And I'm going to show you how to do that in standard, but Mike's going to show you like the real way and a specific riff that you will instantly recognize. But you can insert this in a ton of different stuff. And then number three, there's a lot of cool blues stuff, particularly in the key of G, that you can do in this open tuning. And we're going to show you some of that too. So without further ado, let's get to open G and all the things you can do.
So cool. Let's do it.
Every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, we bring you a free guitar lesson with Chords and Coffee. These videos take time and money to create, and it's our free gift to you. All that we ask in return is that you leave comments on the videos and that you subscribe to this channel. When you do that, you make a massive difference in our ability to help to continue to have Chords and Coffee online for free. Thanks for being a part of this community, and thanks for watching.
All right, so first up, all the chords in the key of G while I pour this coffee. So, Mike, what are you tuned to?
Well, first thing, let's talk about the tuning here. So if this is an open chord, think of it like you're just using your A chord shape, so to speak. So the low E is dropped down 2 steps to a D. The A, 2 steps down to the G. There it is. Then your D string stays the same. Your G string stays the same. Your B string stays the same. See why I like this one so much? And then lastly, just like on your low E, your high E, also down to a D.
So 2 Ds, 2 Gs, 3 Gs.
3 Gs and a B. Yeah.
3 Gs and a B.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, no.
No, 2 Gs.
2 Gs.
Yeah, 2 Gs. Yeah.
2 Gs, 2 Ds, a B, and then 3 Ds.
3 Ds. That's what it is, yeah.
And that's probably why Keith determined islandy to them.
Yeah, Keith Richards, if you don't know this.
He would pop off that string right there.
Just got rid of the low E. Just out of there.
And really, you know, I kind of understand that line of thinking when you're thinking about most of your chord shapes being made on your 5, 6, or 2, 3, 4, 5 strings. The E's not really necessary.
Pretty extra.
I mean, I can't say that I've really ever used it. I think most of the time when I'm playing live and I'm going quick, I'm not even tuning it down. Don't even touch it. Don't even care. I'm not going to use it.
And on these chord voicings, you'll see that it gets muted a lot. But without further ado, so take us through all the chords in the key of G. So G's first.
Here's G.
Right?
See that? Yeah, a little bit different, but there it is. So then the A minor, the same shape basically, but a little trickier, and I'm going to be muting the D string with my middle finger there, just kind of sitting over there, so you get the same chord. I just kind of have to pick and choose my notes because I don't have an extra finger. The B minor is going to be exactly the same, so just move it up 2 steps, just like you would. Okay. So now C is going to be in major, and what's really cool about this is you just need 1 finger. There it is. It's that easy. And same with D. Major chords, just 1 finger, upright again you're on the 7th fret from the A string all the way down to the high E string. And then we're back to that funky shape that we did with the A minor and the B minor there. If I can get my fingers right, I promise I've played this chord before. There's your E minor.
Now, Now for the F sharp diminished.
Yeah,
what
the
do you
Nate
do up
chord.
there?
So this one I got to think about first. But basically, I'm barring on the 10th fret, the the D, G,
and the
B and A string. I have my middle finger up on the 11th fret on the A, and then I am putting my ring finger on the 11th fret of the G string to sound kind of like this.
Yeah, so it's or this,
Yeah.
and then back to G, right?
And then back to G at the 12th.
And what's really nice is when you're tuned like this and another guitar player's tuned standard, there's some really cool sounds you can do together, but also this might be a good time to even bring up that Keith mechanism.
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of his songs, you know, he started with the major chord and he could hammer on, which would basically be to the 4, I guess. So, I mean, that's it.
So tell us what you're doing right there.
So in my head, and this isn't quite right, but I'm basically turning this one finger across here, making what I can look at in my hands as a D minor 7th, but really you're playing a F of sorts. So I mean, you know, there's your F note, just like you have there. So you're basically just going 1, 2, 4, 1 to the 4, 1 to the 4.
Yeah, and by
And
1,
that
2,
is
4 you mean 1
1
T-O. 4.
To the 4,
yeah,
not 1, 2, 4. Sorry, yes.
No, it's okay.
Guitar player lingo, yeah. But yeah.
So let's take a quick second. I want to explain that. So your shape-wise, it looks just like a D minor 7, but it sounds like an F, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so you've got, if you wanted to do that in standard tuning, and you wanted to have that sound of the 4 over the 1 chord, the way I would do that would be index finger on the D string, cover on the 5th fret, so D, G, B, and then the high E. I'm just going to mute the high E. And then I'm going to have my pinky on the 8th fret of the low E, and then I'm going to hammer on the same way that Mike is hammering on with his middle finger on the B string of the 6th fret and the ring finger of the 7th fret on the D string. So, but it sounds so much cooler this way.
It really does, yeah.
Because so much more chords. And then you're sliding the whole thing down and doing this.
And I'm in the, basically B flat, playing a B flat blues riff right there,
And so that's just index finger across the 3rd fret, and you're playing, is it from A all the way to high E?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a full chord right there.
And then you got your ring, finger on the 5th fret of the D, is that right?
Yeah.
Because the A string's tuned low.
Exactly. So it saves you a little bit of a stretch there if you're doing it the other way. And it's just kind of like the opposite of a capo. It's giving you a different voicing of something that you already know. So, I mean, you can still play it the same. It's just tweaking the attitude of the string a little bit.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So real quick, for everybody that's playing, especially if you're playing somewhere on a Sunday morning, this tuning really works beautiful for songs that are essentially, you know, like a 1-5-6-4 kind of thing, like what I would call standard kind of straight up the middle of pop music chord progression. And to be able to get that 4 sound where you have it like this combined with this. So just for fun, I'm gonna play like C to F, and then you like use that kind of grip. There's also the little doodads you're doing in there too.
Just like every Stone song.
Yeah. So that's a real critical thing, because that is such in his DNA.
Yeah.
Because he made the decision. This is where I live, tuning wise.
Well, yeah. I think a lot of these guys were learning this stuff at the same time. Back in the day, and I think hanging out with each other. I mean, from Ry Cooder to Ike Turner to Keith, they were all kind of experimenting with this stuff at one time. And I think Keith was the first one to get credit to put it down on record, though. Honky Tonk Women, the first song to ever hear an open G on a major song. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
I think so. It was the first one that the Stones had out there for sure. And so, it's really cool. But it was kind of just like these guys were all learning and curious about it at the same time, and he just happened to kind of get to it first and make it his own, and definitely gives you that Stones vibe with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. I saw somewhere where there was an old guitar method book that had Spanish, and I forget the name of the other song, but they were these songs that were just written in the method book to be things that were taught, and one of them was in open G, and that was called Spanish. Something Spanish was the exercise.
Oh, cool.
That was used for open G. So anyway, so speaking of, let's look at like a blues tune. So I want you to talk about how you hold the slide and do the slide, but also in a blues, especially in open G, there's kind of a really easy thing that you can do. And you and I both come from the same place in terms, like when we first heard Eric Clapton Unplugged, we were like in high school. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, that kind of
and so
set the groundwork for a
lot.
lot.
I was like, whoa.
That's allowed.
Especially acoustic playing.
Yeah.
And so walking blues, right?
Yes. So cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so cool. So the main rules with the slide is, and I started on my middle finger, which isn't ideal.
I think Jason Isbell plays on his.
Yeah, I know Ron Wood does. Billy Gibbons. So tell me I'm wrong. I think it works out all right. Yeah. But the main reason behind that is the more fingers you have behind the slide, because you got to think of the slide as a movable fret, you can get a lot of extra noise that maybe isn't cool. A lot of string slapping and things. So if you have it here, you use your other two fingers to kind of deaden everything you don't mean to do. And everything's a lot more intentional that way. So I definitely recommend, if you're new, try this, but hey, if it works, it works. If you're making rock and roll, then keep making rock and roll, okay?
Right.
Yeah. But the other key thing too, so instead of fretting your guitar like you normally would, because this is a movable fret, you need to be right over the fret. So completely on top of it, exactly. One trick one thing that kind of gave me a hard time for a little while was my angle of my hand. So I'd be doing this. I'm not very flat with the fretboard, so some of your notes are going to be sharper, some are going to be flat. So it's just a little bit of technique. It's just practice. We got to practice. Be right over the fret so you make that perfect in tune chord with everything. If you're playing a whole chord.
Yeah, and so if you're playing a slide, for a blues anyway, the three chords you got to know is the G.
The G.
Which is the 1.
The 1.
The 4, which is the C.
The C.
And then the 5.
The D.
And then, so show us how you would play that, like just with the slide, 1, 4, 5.
So, there's the 4. And then 5. Back to the 1.
Yeah.
Right there. So it's really simple. The other thing I like about the G that I think we talked about the other day was you get the whole neck to play with, kind of. It's kind of like using E. You have from here to here, basically, to start over. So you got all this action, and I think that's the thing that warmed me up to the G is you're not, I can only work in this little area of the fretboard or something like that.
No, I love it.
It's pretty cool.
So let's start off with a very basic little bluesy thing, and and then we'll build. I want you to show us what you just did, but this would be, so I'm in standard still, but even in G, it's going to be the same thing. So if you're going, kind of almost Bruce Springsteen, Glory Days kind of vibe.
Oh yeah, definitely has that there, doesn't it? Yeah.
So basically, everything's open, and your index finger is just going to come down on the D string of the 2nd fret, right? And what's cool about that, you're free to do little doodlies and slideys and doohickeys and stuff while keeping that going, right? And then when you move up to the 4, what do you do with the same kind of idea?
Well, so slide or not, without the slide, I'm just, barring it.
So that's going to be on the 4 chord, it's on the 5th fret.
It's on the 5th fret, all the way across, all 5 strings.
Yeah. And then what's your finger doing?
And then on the, I'll be on the D string, just hammering on what would be the 7th fret, so. And I'm hitting, because I have it barred, I'm using my thumb to hit my root C note right there. So that is the root of the 4 right there. And
again, because we're tuned, that A string is tuned down to G.
Yep. So so it's a different spot, otherwise your chord would look like that. But yeah. And then the same thing when you move up to the 5, you're going to move everything up to the 7th, and you're hitting off on the 9th fret.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's all right there. And some of those blues riffs, it actually makes them easier on your hands. If you have a hard time with the old stretch, getting across there and doing all that Chuck Berry stuff that he was so good at, or Nate's good at because he has the longest ring finger and pinky I've ever seen in my life. Some people are just born with it, friends.
Maybe
But
it's Maybelline.
Yeah, maybe it is Maybelline. But this helps some of those riffs be a little easier to perform on guys with average size hands like myself, where I got to earn my stretches just a little bit more.
Well, show us what you're doing on walking blues, because you're not doing that exactly. When we were just kind of noodling around a second before we got started here, you were kind of doing something where you were doing like this little thing like this.
Well, yeah, it was kind of add a little more movement to it, just because on that recording he is just all by himself, and so he's playing the bass player and the guitar player kind of at the same time. But it's
So is that you're on the F
I'm
note,
the F,
third fret of the D string.
Yep.
Yeah, and then what?
And then back on the E.
Oh, but you're playing the G at the same time.
I'm playing the G at the same time, so I'm kind of giving myself that drone. That's the neat thing, that droney G, just kind of hanging out there all the time. Then down to the E, and then I'm just kind of doing a pull off of the B flat, since my A string's tuned down. This is a B flat up here now, so.
Okay, so third fret on the D with the open G, second fret on the D with the open G, and then both open.
Yeah, both open.
And then third fret on the A, and then pulling that off and releasing to the open D and G string.
Yep, and that's kind of the beginning of your next riff too. So.
We just went to the fifth fret, and again. Okay, so that was up to the fifth fret, sliding, and then did it again. And you're putting a little bit of vibrato.
Yeah, and you're just kind of adding some movement, just a little bit of shimmer to kind of give that chord something,
Vocal kind of quality.
Yeah, it's what's neat too, because it does give you, like I said, you got to be kind of exact over the fretboard to make it right, and it's hard to do, especially if you're exciting. Even if you're Clapton, you're just like, here we are. So
did you say it's hard to do if you're exciting?
If you're excited, I'm exciting.
Well, yeah, you are excited.
I am. So the shimmer kind of helps you hit the right note and not hit the right note at the same time.
Yeah. Well, it's just like vocal vibrato. Yeah.
You're right there. So yeah, it's the same thing.
After that, you do it twice, and you went down, and that's on the third fret.
Yeah. And you'll kind of find too, there are these bluesy kind of shapes that it's basically you're just hitting the pentatonic scale, but in linear form instead of in your scales that you've probably practiced at home every week, right? Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah.
And then to turn it around, a simple turnaround, how would you do that? And so that was a 5, 6, 7.
Moving up to the 5 right there. I'll just start playing around and wiggling a little bit on the B string, that's those little half movements there are really cool when you're kind of moving around on the B string.
And what fret is that on the B?
And that would be on the 6th, the 7th, so.
Nice. We did a chicken picking lesson not too long ago, and we talked about how in country music, or anything that's derived from that country tradition, one of the big things is that flat third to the major third. That little chromatic movement.
Yep.
And this is really,
here it is.
that kind of Delta blues thing is really part of where that comes from, other than like that, even Scott Joplin before then, and that whole sort of amalgamation of sounds that was happening in that part of the world.
Yeah, they were all, I think, living in the same parts of the country, learning the same stuff.
Eating the same beans.
Eating the same beans, just applying it a little differently, So
Yep.
It's cool.
All right, well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, so let's hear this in a context, and I tell you what, you do the. I think for this particular instance, what we could do is maybe put a tablature or thereabouts close enough of the intro to Walking Blues.
Yeah.
But if you could just kind of talk us through that just briefly, just to kind of give us an idea of what's happening, and then folks can stop and pause and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So what's really neat about that one, especially when we're tuned down, like I said, you have the whole fretboard to work with here. I'm starting up on the 12th fret, which is the G just starting completely over. So we're kind of right there in the middle, but I'm able to do some movements that I can't do down here because I have all this fretboard back here. So it starts basically like this, and it's loose interpretation, but you can kind of hear it and make up your own. So so I'm letting that A string be real droney right there and kind of giving that mood. It's setting the tone right there.
And you're on the high E.
But I'm on the
B,
high E and B string, and
which is really the high D and B.
correct.
But we'll move on and
So then then hitting the G string of the root again
And that
right
little,
there.
that's 11th fret, is that what that is?
Yep, 11th to 12th, so it's just that half step thing that we're talking about just a moment ago. And then he does this thing that's really cool. This adds in, I guess, a version of the 7th. That would be, yeah.
Yeah. And you're going down from G
G to
G,
F.
F sharp, F, yeah.
But the note that I'm grabbing is B down to the A. Is going to be the note because I'm hitting it kind of right there on the B string.
Major thirds.
Yeah. And then before.
There's that little walk up again.
And back down. And the turnaround.
That's awesome. So, thank you, first of all, Mike, for showing us that.
Thank you for letting me. This is cool.
Oh, no,
this
love it.
This is
Yeah.
great.
I hope that's enough of those elements for you to be inspired. If you're watching this and you're like, well, okay, that's really cool. Where do I begin? Get you a slide.
Yeah.
Go to your favorite music store. Certainly, Mike and I have ours. But go to your favorite music store. Palen Music if it's close or nearby. Or if you got a full tank of gas, get in your car, get here. And then spend some time with somebody where you can pick out the right kind of slide. That's a whole other deal, is finding the right fit.
It's got to fit. Material matters a lot. There's metal, there's brass, plexiglass, pill bottles, plastic. They all have a different sound. It's a different attitude. So find the one that works for you. I love the plexiglass. I can mellow these things out. I can brighten them up. It's kind of hard to rein in.
Is it glass or plexiglass?
Well, it's plexiglass, I think. So I don't think it's actually glass.
I think it's glass.
Is it?
I think it's glass.
Throw it on the ground, see what happens. Well, there we go.
I broke a few of these. Either. So glass, ceramic,
But
whatever.
I like glass,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
kind of what the old blues guys did. They had bottle tops and
Porcine
pill bottles and
Yeah.
whatever it was. That's what Dwayne Allman, all those guys use that kind of stuff. But they all have a different flavor. There's no wrong answer. Just pick out the one that gives you the tone that you're looking for.
Yeah, and by the way, acoustic and electric favor different types of
They do.
slides. But if you have questions about this, if you love this and you're like, I want more, especially more Mike,
Hey,
you got to put it in the comments below. And if you want more things that are either open tuning or slide related or blues related, please let us know. Your comments make a huge difference to what we're doing. We do this every Saturday morning on YouTube at 9 a.m. Central Time.
right?
And by the way, if you send us your coffee, we'll drink it.
We'll drink.
That's it. We will drink your coffee. So send us your coffee. All that stuff is in the description of this video. We sure do appreciate y'all. You're a lot of fun. We enjoy doing this, and I'm really grateful that you jumped on here with me.
I'm grateful you asked me again, my friend. Anytime.
Absolutely.
Good times.
We'll see y'all next week for another Chords and Coffee.
See you, friends.